Hello, this is Burke Lyle here, and I just wanted to make a quick video. I want to talk about Sean Manaea, and really not just about him. So last night he had 13 strikeouts in 7 innings against the Mariners, and it got me thinking. And granted, he threw 106 pitches. How many A's pitchers have gotten 13 strikeouts in a game? Now, granted, right now I'm doing guys who had their most strikeouts ever in a game. And the Oakland A's record for most strikeouts in a game is 18, done by Jack Combs. So Jack Combs did it in 1910 and also 1906 when he struck out 18. He threw a complete game 16 hitter, and then another game, as we go to the box score, on September 1st, 1906, it was the Oakland Athletics against the Boston Americans. The Boston Americans on that day were 38 and 82 on that day, and the game ended up going 24 innings, believe it or not. And both pitchers, Joe Harris for the Boston Americans, went 2 and 18. Was 2 and 18 on the year. They both pitched 24 innings. 24 innings. Think about that. That is 3 games worth of baseball. And wondering how in the world you pitch 24 innings. And Jack Combs that day was 6 and 6 on that. Was 6 and 6 on the day, but they each pitched 24 innings, 15 hits, 1 earned run, and then Joe Harris gave up 16 hits, 4 earned runs, 14 strikeouts. Which you think about it, not a very high strikeout rate. 18 strikeouts. So again, in 24 innings, that's not a very high strikeout rate. If you think about it, throughout the season, if you pitch 300 innings, that's 200 strikeouts. For Harris, that's, again, 200 innings, closer to 100, so not a very high strikeout rate. That game went 24 innings, lasted 4 hours and 44 minutes. So think about it, 4:44. That means, do the math, after 6 innings, they play an hour and 10 minutes, 70 minutes. So again, that's about a 35-minute pace. So that's a game that took less than 5 hours. Nowadays, a game taking 4.5 hours would probably take 12 innings. There's plenty of games like that. And by the way, the home plate umpire in that game was Tim Hurst. There was only one umpire that day. The start of the game time, weather was unknown. The field condition was unknown. But just to think about baseball history and how that happened. But to throw 24 innings in a game, complete game, 24 innings. Nowadays, games would not go 24 innings. I mean, they could. Technically, I would have no idea in the world who would actually pitch if that actually did happen. But to see a pitcher pitch 24 innings, I mean, again, many pitchers don't pitch 24 innings in a month. Starting pitchers. In a span of 4 starts, that could happen, yes. In a span of 3 starts, no. You wouldn't see that in today's day and age. How many pitches do you think they threw? Well, the game, I don't know how it took only less than 5 hours, but do the math. If they're working efficient, 15 pitches per inning, that means they threw, do the math, 15 pitches. After 8, that's 100. They could have thrown 300 plus pitches. And again, this was in the era before pitch counts. And 89 batters faced for Combs, 87 for Harris. So that was on September 1st, 1906. Then Jack Combs, again, when he struck out 18, it was a 0-0 tie against the Chicago White Sox. That was on August 4th, 1910, when that took place. Ed Walsh, I've heard of him, pitched 16 innings. They each pitched 16 innings. In fact, Ed Walsh, not to get too deep into him, but I believe he had a long career at a very low career ERA. Again, pitching a different era. His career strikeouts per 9 was 5.3. So now that I think about it, Jack Combs, who is he? Well, he won 158 games in his career, and he pitched in 354 games, 268 games starts. He died back in 1957. Was born in 1882. So think about 1882. In fact, his MLB debut is on July 5th, 1906. So that was very early in his MLB career. That was his rookie year when he threw that 24 inning game. And again, throughout his career, through 187 complete games, good luck with that. And his career strikeout per 9 was 4.1. So think about it, 4.1. That is not very high at all by any era. So that shows it's just a different era. So Sean Manaea's career strikeout rate per 9, if you want to ask, in terms of guys who have gotten 13 strikeouts, Oakland A's. Sean Manaea's career strikeout per 9 is 7.8, which has gotten higher over the years, I'd say. It was quite low his first full year, his first couple years in the big leagues. It was 6 in 2018. Now it's at 10. So now his strikeout rate is right around league average or potentially below league average. Sean Manaea has thrown 3 complete games in his career, including 2 this year, and I think one of them was a 7-inning doubleheader. So Sean Manaea, a reliable starter for the A's as of now. So looking at those numbers in terms of most strikeouts ever, then you had Vita Blue strike out 17 in one game. That was in 1971, pitched 11 innings. Again, complete games, very common back then, not as extreme as the 1920s. Then a lot of guys, the name you see on the list is Rube Waddell. I've heard of him. Struck out 17 in 12 innings. Struck out, we go with Rube Waddell. We go with 16 in 12 innings, 16 in 17 innings. Complete games, good. Who knows how many pitches he actually threw? I mean, who knows what the actual number is? So you can go down and down on the list of A's pitchers. And again, most of the time when you look at this number of strikeouts, like Rube Waddell struck out 13 many a times. So actually 38 times in A's history, someone has struck out at least 13 batters. So this happened 38 times in A's history going back to Philadelphia. So you want to look at the highest totals. Many of them involve complete games. So now, if you go by dates, Sean Manaea did it on yesterday, July 22nd, 2021. He went 7 innings, threw 106 pitches, faced 28 batters. That was it for him. Again, 106 pitches. That's not very many. That is not very many at all. 106 pitches. Frankie Montas went 6 innings last year against the Mariners. Actually, on the last day of the season, September 27th of 2020, struck out 13 through 113 pitches. So really had to labor through 6 innings. Todd Stottlemyre, again, struck out 15 back in 1995. He's pitched 10 innings through 130 pitches. So again, 130 through 10 innings, that's not that many. That's not so bad. That really isn't. Pitching 10 innings in a game. And that's kind of the early days of pitch counts right there. So again, 25 years in between 13 strikeout performers for the Oakland A's, which that is an astonishing number. 25 years. So what Frankie Montas did last year was the first time that happened in 25 years, which is unbelievable when you really dig into the numbers, when you really dig into the data. And then you have Bobby Witt. Again, I think he's the dad of the A's, Royals shortstop prospect. I guess Bobby Witt Jr. 14 strikeouts, 120 pitches, which again, games like that were more common. That was in 1994 when that happened. Complete games were a lot more common back in the days. In fact, Bobby Witt threw 47 complete games in his career. No one would throw that many now, which again, that just shows how much rarer they are now than they were then. So that's what happened then. So that was in the 90s, and Dave Stewart did it through 9 innings. How many pitches he threw, I don't know. Since I don't think they started keeping track of pitches until the 1980s, to like 1988. So again, I'd have to look back at most pitches anyone's thrown a game. Going back to 1988, it probably should be somewhere in the 150s, 160s. Since again, what you saw in the early 1900s, and again, go down the list. Jose Reggio struck out 14, struck out 16 in 8 innings. So again, maybe a little more knowledgeable, not pushing him all the way. 8 innings, 8.1 innings, I guess, trying to get him to finish. That was in the 80s. Both in 1986, actually, back-to-back starts, I would think, since it was about 5 days apart. And again, when he did that, he was just 21 years old. Had kind of an interesting career, a lot of injuries. Did battle a lot of injuries for sure. But that's basically a young horse just going out there and throwing as many pitches as possible. And he had Vita Blue do it numerous times, all in complete games. How many pitches he threw, who knows. And then you had Blue Moon Odom, who did it numerous times for the A's in the 1960s and 70s. And then you had Chuck Dobson, who did that numerous times. Jim Nash, and then Jack Combs, and then basically from there, Rube Waddell in the early 1900s. Rube Waddell started doing this in 1902, all the way through 1904. Struck out 13 a game, numerous amounts of times. And granted, he pitched 14, 12, 17 inning games, extra inning games. So it's interesting. So how common it was. Rube Waddell has by far the most appearances. He actually did that 18 times. 18 times between 1902 and 1906, believe it or not. So that's astonishing how many strikeout performances he had like that. And then he did it again in 1907. It was Jack Combs, who did this numerous times as well. And then it happened many times, actually, from my recollection, 23 times between 1902 and 1910, all done by Rube Waddell and Jack Combs. Oh, Charles Bender did it one time too. So those were the performances then. It didn't happen again until 1968 with Jim Nash. He actually pitched 9 2/3 innings, lost the game, so I assume a walk-off. So Chuck Dobson pitched 12 innings. So again, how many pitches these guys threw? Who knows? Who knows? And who knows how hard Rube Waddell threw, or how hard Jack Combs threw, or how hard Jim Nash threw. Even Vita Blue, we don't know, probably slower. How hard these starters threw. So think about it. So many times throughout the A's franchise history, had just a few guys doing this. So again, it's fascinating about what you can find when you talk about baseball history, baseball numbers, like a random stat like that. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. So Sean Manaea struck out 13 last night. I thought, how many times has this been done? Well, I looked it up. Thank you to StatHead by Baseball Reference. You can look these numbers up. And for 13 minutes, I didn't know I could ramble on about the history of A's pitchers striking out 13 batters in a game. But it's fascinating. It's fascinating just as looking up baseball history. So kind of what happened, I mean, you think about the President of the United States, kind of the Teddy Roosevelt administration, right? And then you kind of go on to 68, kind of the height of the Vietnam War. Richard Nixon getting ready to become president, a wild year in American history. What happened in 1968 with Jim Nash and Blue Moon Odom, I believe. And then you had Vita Blue. 1971 actually did that 3 times, struck out 13 batters. Finished in every one of them. I guess one of them might have been a rainout. Who knows, but and then just having these different occurrences. So this is fascinating stuff for sure. It really is. And the point is, Sean Manaea is a good pitcher. He's having a good year this year. But just to see numbers like that, to see a 13 strikeout performance in Oakland A's history is just astonishing. And you could do this for all sorts of franchises. You could try it for the Yankees. You could try it for the Red Sox. I'm sure Pedro had performances like that. So did Chris Sale, obviously. The Nationals, Max Scherzer, and just all these stats and numbers. It's cool. It really is. It really is just looking up these cool stats and numbers and dates and times. So remember, 1994, 1995. Those were seasons involving strikes. Then you look at last year, COVID-related seasons, 2020 and 2021. So various numbers like that. So it's fascinating. It really is. I've gone on for 15 minutes. It's cool to talk about it. So this is everything. This is Burke Lyle, just kind of putting out a random video. Yep.